Mr. Blue,
Here.
Mr. Brim,
Here.
Mr. Householder,
Here.
Mr. McCullough, Mr. Watkins.
I'll respond to that question by saying, go Bucks.
There you go. Go Bucks. All right. Next on the agenda, item number 3, election of president. According to Ohio Revised Code 3313-11, requires a recorded individual vote. Of nominations for president.
I would nominate that Russ Blue be president for the 2015 year.
Okay, it doesn't, seconds aren't required. But we'll go with it. Any discussion? Vote,
I'll move we
please.
close nominations and you be accepted by acclamation of the board.
You don't have to, we can do anything you want. All right, vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes. All right. Election of vice president.
Mr. Watkins, that's second.
I would nominate Mr. McCullough since he's not here this evening.
I told him that would happen.
Here, here. I'll second that as well.
Okay, we have first by Dave, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim.
Yes.
he graciously accepts.
He's a good man.
There we go.
Ran a good company.
Item number 5, establishment of date, time, location of regular meetings.
So I propose that we do the same, the third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. here at the board office.
Have a second for that?
Yes, second here.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim,
Yes,
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
passes 4-0. Number 6, authorization for the treasurer to request advanced draws of tax settlements of up to $600,000 each. Motion to accept.
Watkins.
Brim seconds.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim,
Yes,
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
passes 4-0. Item 7, authorization for the treasurer to invest interim and inactive funds as deemed appropriate to gain the best interest rate. Motion.
Brim.
Householder.
Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim,
Yes,
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
passes 4-0. Number 8, designation of purchasing agent for the district and establishment of maximum allowable single purchases without prior board authorization. Purchasing agent, Jennifer Penzarski. Maximum allowable single purchase, an amount of $25,000. Motion, please.
Watkins.
Second.
Brim.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes,
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes. Passes 4-0. Item 9, authorization of cafeteria manager, maintenance supervisor, technology supervisor, and transportation supervisor to purchase supplies and materials up to a maximum of $2,500 per order. Motion.
Brim.
Householder.
Any discussion?
It's worked in the past.
Yeah, so far. Vote, please.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim.
Yes,
Passes 4-0. Item 10, authorization for superintendent to approve staff member attendance at professional meetings. Motion,
Watkins.
Householder.
discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim,
yes,
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
passes 4-0. Committee appointments by the president. I did send out an email to everybody last week, and seems like everybody's happy with or okay with the way things are. So at this time, The Audit Finance Committee will be Jennifer Penzarski, Tracy Hiller, myself, and Tom Brim. Facilities and Transportation will be Tom and myself. Personnel will be Tom Brim and Mark McCullough. Curriculum and Instruction will be David Householder and Mark Watkins. Business and Education Council will be David Householder. Cafeteria will be Mark Watkins and Mark McCullough. Co-curricular Music Athletics, Mark McCullough and Mark Watkins. OSBA Legislative Liaison, David Householder. Parks and Recreation will be myself and Jennifer Penzarski. RE Allen Scholarship, Tom Brim. Records Commission, Jennifer Penzarski, Tracy Hiller, and myself. Policy Committee, Mark Watkins, Dave Householder, and High Point Career Center will be myself. That's a 3-year term. I'm only in my first year of that. And on Parks and Recreation, that term actually ends in August, but if we would, I had talked to Mr. McCall and he said he would be glad to do it. So we can either do it by resolution or we can wait till August when the term expires and then put him in at that point. We don't have to do it tonight, but
Okay.
we can talk about it later. So motion to accept those committees.
Brim?
Householder.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Thank you, everybody, for filling in the spots. Item 12, appoint Jennifer Penzarski as the Title IX Compliance Officer, Sexual Discrimination, Title VI Coordinator, Race, Color, National Origin, and Section 504 Coordinator, Handicap. Motion, please.
Householder.
Watkins.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes, passes 4-0. Item 13, motion to adjourn reorganizational meeting.
Brim?
Householder.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brim.
Yes.
7:07.
7:07 is what I was looking for. Okay, passes 4-0.
Go Bucks again.
Yeah, go Bucks again. All right. Anybody need a break? We're moving along here pretty fast.
You're doing great.
Okay, now we'll call to order our first meeting of the regular meeting of the year. We'll do a roll call again.
Mr. Blue,
Here.
Mr. Brim,
Here.
Mr. Householder.
Here.
Mr. McCullough, Mr. Watkins.
Okay, let's all rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ask for approval and or correction of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 15th, 2014.
Watkins.
Householder.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes. Passes 4-0. Principal, supervisor, and faculty reports. I don't,
None
not
this
here
month.
tonight. Nothing this evening. All right. Item 6.
Yeah.
Public participation section of the Board of Agenda is specifically designated for the public to address the board with their complaints, concerns, and/or questions. The board welcomes your comments. If you wish to address the board regarding a problem, the board will remind you of 2 things. First, your comments should be factual and respectful of the rights of others. Second, before coming to the board with a specific problem, you should have first addressed the problem with the appropriate teacher, staff member, or administrator. Under section 6A, we have Jason Fleming. He promised not to be more than 45 minutes, but he is. He'll be here by himself.
Just real quick, so thank you for letting me talk here tonight. I was asked to give just a quick update of where we're at on the construction as far as the completion of the elementary school and the where we're at on the demo / abatement for the 2 schools that are going to be demolished. you have a sheet in front of you there. Basically, number one, since the last update, which has been a while, we have added some additional parking spaces on the north parking lot. That was to accommodate some of the school activities and parking requirements during those activities. And I think that helped out immensely as far as that goes. Item number 2, the south parking lot has had perimeter drain tile added, as well as 1 tile under the parking lot running east and west and 2 running north and south. This was to help alleviate some of the water that was coming up through the concrete that had been brought to our attention, be it from an old farm drain tile. We really didn't know the answer to that offhand, but they've checked that, and it seems to me that they are going to, it worked what they had, but then obviously we turned off cold, so we're not sure. So that'll get revisited in the spring. We're going to be back here in the spring and just to double check and see how we're doing on the landscaping as far as the growth of the grass and the trees and so on and so forth. And we'll revisit that at that time. And I know that some of that concrete might have been poured when it was a little bit cold out just to get it back to where we're, so we'll check that out too. And if that's not up to par, we'll make them fix that and correct that out and get that done right as well. Item number 3, furniture. It's all installed now. I mean, I think we have one thing that we were waiting on, but that was an add-on later on in the project, so it's not a huge deal on that. And then we had some carpet that was frayed that we've had that replaced. And as far as the punch list goes, which the last time I talked about punch list was all the quality items that they needed to correct. As far as the building goes, that is all complete now. And did a nice job getting that done. That's probably the earliest I've seen a punch list closed out on a project, so that's good for them, good for me too, and obviously good for you guys. We did have some acoustical panels installed in one of the extended learning areas of the 1st and 2nd grade pod, and that was to help alleviate some noise. Those did get installed over Christmas break, and they look great, but we haven't really tested to see where they're at as far as how it's helping acoustic-wise. They're going to do that here, I think, once we get school running again, get out of this bad weather and get some things going. Again, I know it mentioned that landscaping will be revisited in the spring to make sure all is growing as planned and so on and so forth. Number 7, as far as the demos go now, that's pretty much it on the elementary school. Before I jump to these other 2 items here, does anybody have any questions on some of that stuff? I know I went through it pretty quick, but I was told to.
I'd just like to say that, you know, I know we've said it before, but we couldn't be more pleased with the cooperation we've gotten from your organization and the construction company. And the final product has turned out really nice.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it.
Have you worked with the HVAC system at all? I mean, you get involved with that?
Oh, sure.
Is it operating as expected, or how's that going as far as getting the handle on the operations of it?
Getting, as far as operating as it's intended, yes. I mean, as an overall thing, there are some minor tweaks that are taking place here and there. They do have commissioning. The commissioning agent has gone through and put together their list of items that needed to get corrected. There's still a few of those that are open that they're working on, and we actually had a meeting this afternoon and discussed some of that and where we're at on that. And once we get some responses back, we're going to have another meeting to finalize that to see exactly where we're at, because the nice thing about this system is my office can actually go online and read what's happening at your building based on that. So Matt Guggenbiller from our office, he's the HVAC designer on this. He's actually spent about every day last week. He was on there checking that to see where it was at. And he had some items that he wants tweaked, because we have on the, it's more or less in the controls as far as the what they're seeing on the screen versus what's in the room. There's a couple of the rooms where it's saying that it's 63 degrees. The screen shows that it's 67 degrees, so it won't call for the heat until it gets down. So it gets a little cool, and they're just tweaking that out. And as far as on a new building, that's normal items that you may have run into. But as far as it goes, it's running very, very well, I think, as far as for this building. Okay. All right. As far as the demolition goes, first off, they had to do some asbestos abatement, and the asbestos abatement at Hardin Central is complete, and they plan on having the abatement completed at SB schools by the end of the month based on our meeting today. So that should, once they're done with that, that allows the demolition to go in there. The demolition of the buildings, obviously, if you guys approve the contracts, is planning on starting in approximately 2 weeks at minimum. So 2 to 3 weeks, I would say you're going to start seeing some motion down there. They're planning on starting at Hardin Central. And then once I don't know if their intent is to, while they're doing that, move a crew and have 2 crews, or if they're going to finish that one and then move on and do SB after that. But SB will follow shortly behind Hardin Central. And I noted too that there may be some bricks available for the public that they're going to set outside the construction zone potentially. I don't know if that's 100% determined yet or not, but that they can pick up one or two if they needed them, or wanted them.
We have decided that we will give the bricks as a memory of the building, but how that process will work,
Right.
and it would be a single brick, hasn't been determined. yet.
Correct.
So those pieces aren't in place.
I had somebody talk to me, wanted like something to build a flower bed out of or something. I told them, you'll have to deal with that company directly. And
Right, we're just doing the single brick as
Yeah,
a,
okay.
as a memory of the building, otherwise it gets way too
I
complicated.
assumed it was not intended to be somebody's building project.
Correct.
It's resources, but, okay, that's good.
Any other questions? All right, well,
When they remove these buildings, are they gonna haul in dirt to fill in the basements is there a deadline for all the material that I assume they're grinding concrete?
They're
and stuff.
the way we have it set up in the specifications, the brick material or any of the clay material that can degrade, they have to haul that off-site. Pretty much everything's hauled off-site. The concrete materials and things of that nature, they can actually grind that on-site and use it as part of the fill for a basement area up to a certain point. Just for argument's sake, I don't know offhand, it's either 4 to 6 feet, somewhere in that vicinity. And then they have to bring in engineered field and then topsoil to the top, and then everything's seeded. So the site will be clean and green up to what we have removed, less trees and things of that nature that are staying. But as far as the buildings, there will be nothing left of them as far as that goes. All righty. Thank you guys much.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
See ya. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, 6B, Kenton High School Youth Leadership. Ask you to come to the microphone and give us your name, please, and tell us what youth leadership is all about.
Hi, I'm Emily Hurt. I'm Ashley Morris.
I'm Brady Donnelly.
And Daisy White, Jacob Mans, and Colt Buckenroth could not be here today. We are the Kenton group of students representing Hardin County's youth leaders, and we'd like to give you all some insight on what this program does and how we benefit from it. What we learn through this program really impacts our leadership skills, and it helps us gain abilities. Some of the things is we learn about communication more in depth and how we can develop public speaking skills. We gain confidence through this program, and we learn about team building and using others to help us evaluate things and work together. One of my favorite topics that we've done so far was we did the strengths quest, and not very many people are familiar with this. It's online. It's a 30-minute assessment that we all were required to take, and once we completed it, it revealed our top 5 talents. And this helps because leadership, I think, starts with ourselves, and by discovering and developing our own unique strengths, we can become more aware of what we bring to the table and begin utilizing our own leadership abilities. Youth leadership provides every student that is a part of it an opportunity to speak in front of crowds.
We learn skills that will aid us in applying for a job and having a successful interview process. The atmosphere at our meetings is significant to me. It is truly awesome being surrounded by your peers who are accepting, responsible, hardworking, and unique. It's great when we all work together and build each other up and create new friendships. Also, the speakers who attend and those in charge are great and inspiring to us as leaders.
Building successful leaders will have a positive impact on our community. We from Kenton are very thankful to be able to participate in the youth leadership program. We'd like to thank everyone who has made this opportunity possible. The board of directors and school staff are very kind in allowing us to take field trips to go make ourselves better leaders. We'd like to thank the board of directors and school staff for, never mind. We'd like to thank Ms. Penzarski and the board members for allowing us to do all this stuff and hopefully to become better leaders. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you explain the process of how you're chosen to go to Hardin Leadership. It is a great program. I know that.
The administration and school staff selects 3 men and 3 women from the sophomore class to represent Kenton High School.
Okay, well, I think they chose some very good ones this year.
Very good.
Done a fine job.
Thank you, guys.
Anything you'd like to share with us? Okay. Well, thank you for coming tonight. You're a great representative of the school. Okay, we're going to proceed on with our meeting. This would be a good time.
Go.
If you want to escape,
Yeah, get out. Yeah.
you're welcome to run.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here tonight. Go Bucks.
Yeah, go back.
Is that what you learned?
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, reports of the treasurer. Approving the following December 31st, 2014 reports. Cash position, check register, receipt ledger, investment report, budget versus actual. Have a motion to accept, please.
Grimm,
Householder.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment or question, a first comment, but I was in a meeting last week with the auditor and talking about the change in property tax evaluations that are going to affect the district. His report was, and I didn't bring it with me, but our district will gain about $650,000 from that reevaluation. How does that affect our state money at all?
Yes, it
Maybe.
It can.
They can.
That's a-
Part of their
that's a big
formula.
issue. Yeah.
Yes.
When will we know, or how that process of evaluation work?
I don't think that's going to affect us this year because that is already all set in place.
Not till June.
But in
So when the
July,
next state budget comes around,
but it depends on how everybody else's changes.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of the percentage and, evaluation for all the different counties.
I asked Representative Sprague about that one day. He said, we're going to try not to touch those. But that's depending on their
That tries
level of
Yeah, but
funding.
Yeah.
Tries
we
a
all
big
remember-
word.
Yeah.
We all remember the term, held harmless.
So
And then they take so
They
many
can talk
mills of
about
that value and deduct it off of our state. So
so going forward after this year, it'll be entered into the into the process and
equation,
could
yep.
affect some of that state
Right.
money. Okay.
More than likely.
But with us being on the cap, maybe not,
Yeah.
We'll move from
And a
that.
break comes through.
he's just one vote.
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
His intentions are fine.
Okay, any other discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough, sorry. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes,
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
passes 4-0. Superintendent's reports and communications.
I just have a couple things this evening. The first was the biggest question this morning, which was about the blizzard bags and why Kenton City Schools still have blizzard bags to complete and do, since most districts are in hours. And the reason for that is because Kenton City Schools are not on hours. We're still actually on days. We were grandfathered. And the reason for that is because our union contracts haven't expired yet. So our union contracts expire in 2016. So we're still grandfathered to the old system, which means we're held to 5 calamity days and we can apply for 3 blizzard bag days. So essentially we have 8 days. The other school district in Hardin County that would be on the same type of system would be Ada. So when we announced today that we had a blizzard bag, there was a lot of confusion because people think that we're on hours because the whole state supposedly is on hours. And although that is a system that the state uses, if you're grandfathered until your contract renews, you're on days and on the days system. So that did create some confusion this morning. And so that's why we still kind of use calamity days here in Kenton and still count by calamity days, which means we will also have makeup days. So if we go over 8, then we'll have makeup days to do and we'll have to follow that. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit so that everyone understood I know that the principals are getting out information, and there was some confusion too about how blizzard bags work. And this year they were sent out early and when they're actually due and how all that is. And I know that I'm going to steal some of the principals' thunder because they're going to send out letters and more information. But the blizzard bags are actually sent out early this year. This was before Christmas break, just to be on the safe side, so that when a day like today happens, you actually have a hard copy at home. And I know Ryan did a really good job of making sure that everything that he had access to was available on the website and that people could actually access things online. Some confusion that happened is that some of the teachers and some of the schools and classes said that you can do your work in advance, and you can. So you can complete your blizzard bags in advance. You're allowed to do that. So I know a lot of families did them over Christmas break, but the problem is, are they actually due? And some people even gave a due date of we'd like to have them turned in by this date. And the reason they did that is because park testing is coming up in February. And if you do it ahead of time, it will probably benefit you. But a blizzard bag isn't actually due until the blizzard bag day happens. So there's no penalty or consequence for not doing the blizzard bag until the day happens. So there was also some confusion this morning when I made a call and said, Blizzard Bag Day 1 is due today, because there was a message in a newsletter that said blizzard bags aren't due until January 23rd. Well, that's great, except we had a blizzard bag today. So that's why there's just a little discrepancy, and principals and teachers are going to also send some information home about that. But just keep in mind that a blizzard bag is actually required and due the day it happens, but you're allowed to do it in advance. And that's why some were sent out early and some were just asked to be collected or turned in early, but you don't have to do that. And we just wanted to clear that up a little bit. So hopefully we won't have any blizzard bag days tomorrow. So we're looking for Mr. Watkins. We're down there trying to support you. Forecast looks good
I
for
just
tomorrow.
told Dave you might call it a snow flurry bag instead of a blizzard.
There you go, snow flurry
Now,
bag.
I have a question. We have 2 dates built into the calendar. Are we going to be able to use one of the, or will we go then next Monday?
We won't go Monday unless we go past the 8. So we
I
have to
see.
hit our 8 first. We had, and I don't want to use 2 before Monday, but we would have to do 2 days and then we could use them. We could start picking them up. Absolutely. And the other thing, just maybe I'll touch on, and it's only for high school, so I don't want to get a lot of people confused, but there was a message that went out this afternoon because we actually had exams scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday at the high school. But because we've missed so many days, we've pushed back our 9 weeks, and exams will actually be next week. So Mr. Abbott's posted all that information on our website and gotten that information out to people. So I know I've just dumped a lot of information on you, but just thought if I could clarify a little bit with everyone, that would help. The other things, just because we haven't had our committees because they were shifting, tonight I am going to ask for an amendment on the agenda at the end of our meeting. And it's because of our meeting that we had today. We've been talking about it for a long time, but we actually just got the quote today and got everything finalized. But if you know how many kids we're actually serving in our cafeteria, it's it's just slightly over 1,100. And we're actually able to serve them hot meals, truly cooked pastas and French fries and things. And only 1 steamer was allotted for that new elementary school. So from the very beginning of the project, Laura has asked for another steamer. And we asked her to go till Christmas and to make sure that it was really necessary. But because of the high percentage of free and reduced and the number of lunches we're actually serving, it is a need. So today we did get the quote from Mosier to purchase the other steamer for the elementary school. It is the same steamer that we have. And just to clarify, it's a working steamer because we did have a few issues with the one that we got, but it is fully functioning now. So that's the positive. But the cost of that steamer would be $27,531. But we did not have a finance meeting to be able to talk about that. And I didn't get that until this afternoon. So we'd like to go ahead and get that change order approved. That'd be paid out of LFI. And then Mosier can get that on order because that will take quite a little bit of time to get in for Laura and her crew. They're doing an amazing job preparing food. And the only other thing that I have that we're actually going to talk about in finance on Wednesday, but just wanted to share a little bit. We've done a lot with looking at our contracts, and that's with the different companies that we take services through, evaluating different things. And one of the projects that we've been working on is to look at our technology and to make sure that now that we have this really state-of-the-art elementary school, where do our middle school and high school stand? Where does the district stand? Are we going to be on a level playing field? All of those questions. And through the Straight A grant that we wrote, we had talked a lot about where technology was across the county, what are strengths and weaknesses at each district, what are the needs. And so we had talked about and scheduled portions of a tech audit. Some of that has come back. We're probably going to be able to E-rate a lot of it, correct, Ryan, or apply for it. And so those quotes and those needs have been identified. The information's starting to come in. So I think it's very, very beneficial. But I just wanted you to be aware that document has also been included and shared with you. So we're starting to look at those figures on things like servers, some wiring, phone systems.
Yeah, the wiring is the big thing, especially at the high school. But hopefully, and the E-rate should get 80% back for it. I shouldn't say should, hopefully. There's no absolutes.
With the filing. So it's probably going to be under 100,000
Oh, yeah.
when it's all said and done. And the middle school actually came out looking pretty good.
Yeah, and the middle school is nice because there's only 300 students there to support. So it's the size of what Hardin Central or SV was. So it doesn't require as much as.
And they've had grants along the way
Yeah.
to support and to do that. So I just wanted to let you know where we stand. I will in finance on Wednesday talk about the purchasing of some laptops. I've kind of talked to you in previous committee meetings about the need to replace our online learning laptops, that they're not functioning and that they're old as well, and that we need some more of them and to maybe replace a few in COLA and some other places. So we have a really good quote for some Hewlett-Packard Elite books, and so we're going to look at purchasing those, and so we'll talk about those on Wednesday. And I think that's this piece. And then if we talk about grants, our middle school got a security entranceway grant, it looks like, so they'll be able to improve the entrance system to the middle school and make it a safer entrance for our students and our faculty. So that will be happening here, I think, in the spring and taking place. I'm not really sure where we're at with the Marks radio. They wanted everything to be up and running at the elementary school before they took the next steps. If you remember last year, we got approved for that grant. We just haven't actually put in the radios yet. And then tomorrow, we're meeting with the Hardin County Chamber and the Ministerial Association and some other key community stakeholders to start talking about a community connections grant. And we're hoping that some of that grant can be written to fund the work that we're doing at High Point with Northwood. So that satellite program and how we're going to connect our satellite programs to actual internships and businesses and mentoring in Hardin County. So hopefully we'll be able to apply and fund that. So that's just kind of a glimpse of what this week looks like.
All sounds great and exciting to move forward with. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Superintendent? Okay, moving on to item 9, board committee reports. Finance, I guess.
Didn't have one.
Facilities?
We keep meeting about buildings, but
Yeah.
Jason covered most everything that's been in the
Right.
works. The only thing he didn't talk about was the fact that we were still looking at a bus garage and what that might cost. And I've talked to Golden Giant and Morton both, and I haven't really got any numbers from them. They're reluctant to give them evidently because it's a bid project or maybe it was the
Yeah.
holidays, but I didn't get numbers. And then we talked to Garmin Miller a little bit. Do you have copies of that? And
I have the one where the,
Laura actually got a building on that site on the North Drive going up there. And it came in an email, I think, to everybody.
The key was to keep the bus garage on the 114 entrance. We have done an outstanding job of keeping bus and car traffic separate. And so we do not want the buses to cross or to cross with traffic. So can that bus garage sit somewhere off of that 114 entranceway? And she had figured out a possibility for that.
So we're trying to get a rough draft of a cost.
Yeah, and I think we need to get a little more specific on the size and, what we're actually looking at before they'll give us any solid figures.
Yeah, but depending on the cost, we can downsize it a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing might be for facilities that we've been talking about pretty heavy is Northwood. So are we going to abate that building because we've come under budget? It was already in the project. Do we want to go ahead with abatement? And then what will the remodeling look like of that building? Because there will be things that have to be done for those satellite programs to go into Northwood. So we're going to have a meeting hopefully within the next week to sit down with the facilities committee, with Doug, with Jerry, with High Point, and get it nailed down, because we've done several walkthroughs and it expands every time we go, which is great, based on the programs, based on who you walk through. And then also start to make sure that the instruction and teachers are in place for what we want to accomplish.
But the abatement and some of the demolition of a wall or two may be co-funded because
Correct.
she has agreed to do that part, so. Not the renovation afterwards, but.
Okay. Are we getting?
I think, can I just make, I think we probably should move ahead with that. I agree. We just have to be careful not to get carried away. Sometimes refurbished projects can get carried away, and I think we have to think, okay, what's this building going to be 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? Is it going to be in this same configuration, or do we need to just do it with a mind that it may need to change again because of a changing scope of what it'll be used for?
Jason brought me nice pictures tonight of a building they did in Mercer County for the county garage, but it was $5 million. I said, yeah, it's beautiful, but that's not our budget.
It's not in our budget.
Right.
So, okay. Part of the facility is transportation also. How's the busing seem to be running? I mean, with their new scheduling and all that, I kind of overheard some complaints over the weekend of they thought kids were standing out in the cold too long, and the line at the middle school is extremely long and they don't like waiting. And I mean, have you heard any complaints?
I have not. And everything, I will tell you, Brian does an outstanding job of dealing with issues. So if there is a concern, if they call the bus garage, Brian can usually get it resolved. So I would say anyone that's having problems with the bus getting late to a stop, just go ahead and call out to the bus garage itself, and they'll look at where the stop is and the time. Sometimes we just have the wrong time, or we've had to make an adjustment to the route. So maybe the bus doesn't come at the time that it originally came. It's coming a couple, 5 minutes, maybe later, and we just need to communicate that. And Brian does a real good job of figuring those things out for people and working through problems. So I would say communication's the key. They really haven't heard of anything that we haven't been able to fix. And the middle school line part, I haven't heard either to date. So,
Okay.
but I would say definitely talk with Brian out at the bus garage, and he can work through them with you, especially bus stop issues.
I hadn't heard anything, so. I guess it's more connected.
Well, it's been cold, so it's a,
It's
anytime,
been real cold.
anytime to
Yeah,
stand is a long time to stand.
We have had
so.
some extremely cold days, and of course we can't control that.
Right.
But we'll work through it. Okay, extracurricular committee.
The only thing, we didn't meet, but did we?
No.
Okay, we didn't meet, but the only thing I will mention, just because it's been a hot topic, is just to make sure that if you do have any questions, you can use our facilities. And all you need to do is contact our athletic director or contact a building secretary, and we can give you a facility use form. And you complete that form, you turn it in, and Mike Letty will get you scheduled to use whatever facility you need and when. And we just do the scheduling process because we want to make sure that We can get everybody where they want to be, and we can be accountable for who's in the building when, and that our sports teams have priority to our gyms and those kinds of things. I think there was a misconception that we weren't scheduling buildings and letting people use our facilities, and that's not the case at all. We actually want people, we want community to use our facilities, but we do have a form that you need to fill out, and you can get all that either at a building office or you can get that through our athletic director. And he'd be happy to work with you on how to do that.
Okay, thanks for sharing that information. Career Center, we're actually meeting Wednesday for our reorganizational and our first meeting of the year, so really not much to discuss this evening. And then Policy Committee.
We did not meet.
We did not meet. Okay, item number 10, old business. You know, old business would have been the bus garage, and we talked about that, so we'll move on to new business. 11A, approve a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22G to discuss the employment and or compensation of public employees.
Householder.
Okay, 7:41.
You don't need chairs.
Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brent?
Yes.
Mr. Hustle?
Yes.
Don't need chairs. Back to
Model year 2015 vehicles are arriving at dealerships, and Quest Federal Credit Union wants to help you take advantage of the new year models. Take 0.25% off our current low interest rates for auto purchases, new or used. Additionally,
7:45.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that the Board of Education approve the agreement presented by the superintendent pursuant to Revised Code 121.22G1 in executive session.
Also ordered.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item B, approve the following substitutes contingent upon proper certification, training, BCI, FBI check, etc., for the 2014-2015 school year. Barbara Baum, substitute educational assistant. Crystal Conley, substitute educational assistant, secretary. Timothy Greer, substitute teacher. Scott Miller, substitute teacher. Motion, please.
Brim?
Second.
Watkins.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes. Passes 4-0. Item C, approve the request for a leave of absence for Keith Preston. Upon exhausting all sick and personal leave, he's requesting an unpaid leave of absence, all running concurrently with FMLA for the 12 weeks beginning January 5th, 2015. Motion, please.
Brim?
Also ordered.
Brim, Householder, second. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item D, improve the increase for substitute secretaries, educational assistants, cook, and cafeteria from $7.95 to $8.10 per hour, effective January 1st, 2015, due to the increase in the minimum wage. Motion, please.
Brim?
Watkins.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item E, approve the following resolution. The resolution is for awarding demolition contract for Espy Hardin Central Elementary Schools. There were 6 bids received for demolition, which is part of the High School Facilities Commission Assistance Program. And the lowest bid came in from Salenbine Trucking and Excavating in the amount of $161,000. And the construction manager, together with the architect, reviewed the bid submitted, evaluated the bid responsive to specifications for its ability to perform the work, submitted the name of the apparent low bidder for review, and contracting authority. I'm not going to go and read the rest of that resolution. It's printed if anybody wants to
Watkins.
read it from there. Watkins. Second.
Brim?
Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Blue,
Yes.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Okay, we have motion,
The addendum.
The addendum
for the
items.
motion to
Addendum
do
for
this
this.
year.
yes.
So it'll be probably to approve a change order for an additional steamer in the amount of $27,531.
Also ordered.
Brim?
Any other discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blue.
Yes, passes 4-0. Any other addendums before we go to item F? All right. Item F, we need to approve a motion to go into executive session and discuss personnel. Time in 7:50. Motion, please.
Brim?
Also ordered.
Discussion?
Will
No
there be
action.
any,
There'll be no further action taken when we return from executive session, and our next regular board meeting will be held February 16th, 2015 at 7 p.m. at the board office. Thanks for everybody coming out tonight, and go Bucks.
you go.
5-3 WKTN.